This is Dream Power Radio, the place where your dreams turn into reality. Here is your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Hello, and welcome to Dream Power Radio on the amazing Women and Men of Power Network, the world's leading positive programming network powered by Raven International. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, the Dream Coach. This is the show where we talk about dreams, both daytime and nighttime dreams, and how you can use them to make the internal shift to a life you love. And as a reminder, I'm here to help you understand your dreams. So if you've got a dream that's got you stumped, send it to me at debbie@dreampowerradio.com. I'll help you interpret your dream and answer any questions you might have about dreams, about the importance of them and what they might mean to you. So email me at debbie@dreampowerradio.com. I've spent the past several shows focusing more on our daytime dreams and introducing you to some techniques and practices that you can do to really make a difference in your life. But I feel it's time to get back to talking about our nighttime dreams. And I can't think of a better person to talk about dreams with than my special guest today, Robert Haas. Bob is a director and past president of the International Association for the Study of Dreams, which is a fabulous organization that promotes all aspects of dream work. He's also the director of Dream Science Foundation for Research Grants, a faculty member of the Hayden Institute, and on the board of the National Institute for Integrative Healthcare. He's written a number of books and has a new one coming out that we're going to be talking about in a little while. So welcome to Dream Power Radio, Bob.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. And I want to start off with a very basic question that a lot of people ask me. So I'm going to ask you, why do you think dreams are important?
Well, dreams are important because what occurs in our dreams is we learn in our dreams. We learn to adapt to the world outside, and we can also do some self-healing in our dreams. For example, let me give you an example of that. This one's kind of funny, but it happened to one of my students. She had been dreaming all her life, or a great deal of her life, about being chased by a big black monster. And finally, one night, she was caught up against the wall, and her dream went slightly lucid, and she turned around and faced the monster and says, "What are you going to do to me?" And the monster says, "I don't know, lady, it's your dream." And she never had it again. So dreams are not only important from the standpoint of we're adapting to life and things like that, they also give us the opportunity to do a little bit of self-healing like she did there. And as well, the research shows as well that they're important. There's been about 20 or so research studies done in the last 10 or so years. And whenever they research how well the person who was doing the dream work or the subject in therapy or laboratory research, whatever, how well they gained insight as to their life, typically the results were positive 80% of the time. So even the research shows that dreaming is really quite important.
Indeed. You have a new book coming out called Dreams, Understanding Biology, Psychology, and Culture. So can you tell us a little bit about what that's about?
Yeah, this is a fabulous opportunity for our whole organization, IASD, pulled together because we have the access to a lot of the researchers around the world, as well as subject matter experts and psychologists. So when I got asked to manage the editing of this, I pulled together a couple other editors, Katya Valley and Robert Gongloff, and we created a book. It's called Dreaming, Biology, Psychology, and Culture. It's a tutorial about everything you want to know about dreaming from 90 different authors and subject matter experts and researchers. It's a professional book. It's a reference book, in essence. But we tried to write it targeted at students as well as professionals, so that everyone can gain access to an understanding of what the dreams are about and what dreaming and sleep is all about. It contains 4 different sections. One is on the biology of sleeping and dreaming. Another is on dream content and experiences, all the different types of dreams, whether they be your just common dreams or lucid dreaming, or even the paranormal dreaming like psychic dreaming, etc. Thirdly is the third section is on the psychology of dreaming, which gets into all the functions of dreaming, things like learning in dreams, all the history of all the contributors, the psychologists, etc., clinical applications and all. And then the fourth part is dreamwork and cultural practices, which talks about various types of dreamwork, lists various protocols for dreamworking approaches, themes in dreams, and ancient and non-Western cultures and how they treated dreams and spiritual dreams. So it really is a compilation of an awful lot of material.
So what are some of the things that we have learned through the study of dreams that are maybe new and maybe different from what we may have thought of?
Well, there are so blasted many, but the ones that kind of excite me, and I mentioned it already, is the fact that in dreams we learn and we learn to adapt. There's a number of psychologists and theorists that talk about adaptive learning, and what they basically say is within a dream, if we have a problem that we're dealing with in waking life, our dreams at night simulate solutions to that problem. They begin kind of with a metaphoric entry to the dream that shows us the situation or pictures the situation we were in that day and what our conflicts, et cetera, are. They introduce a solution to those typically. They test out that solution in a simulation. And then if the solution works, that's when you wake up with a good, happy dreams. So I can give you an example of that if you'd like.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. This is one that I call it the rusty car dream, because the dreamer was offered a teaching position in an area that he'd been away from for a long time. And although he felt, a real ego boost being offered this position by a university, he decided his talents were too rusty and he just could never recover them. And so he had decided, I'm going to call the next day and turn down the assignment. Well, his dream had a very different take on this. He found himself wandering through a desert and saw an old rusty car. He said, I looked inside and found the driver was not moving. I gave him up for dead. So here we see the picture metaphor of his conflict. The rusty car equals the rusty talents, essentially. And the fact that the driver inside was dead is sort of like his motivation, his inner drive was dead. So the dream first starts out picturing the situation. Then the dream went on, said, my shadow-like companion said, no, he's just asleep, and urged me to shake the man, the driver, and wake him up. So here you see the dream introducing a scenario, a what if. Hey, let's try this out. So the dream went on. He said, I argued with the character, but it was useless. And but finally gave up and shook the man inside the car. So here we see the dream kind of testing the scenario out. And the dream went on and said, when I did, the man in the car came to life and the car transformed into a new car. So here you can see the dream observing the scenario was successful, observing that the dream ego, the dreamer, had accepted this scenario and therefore reinforces it. The reinforcement not only is kind of a reward for doing what you're supposed to do, according to the dream, but it really is a part of storing that solution in memory. Emotions help us store solutions, waking or sleeping, in memory. And what happened is after he woke up, it was an interesting dream, so I wrote it down, but he had no idea it had anything to do with this offer that he'd been given. But he found himself that morning calling and accepting the offer. So you can see the learning actually occurred within the dream itself.
Right. And he would not have called those people and said that they offer if you didn't have the dream. So the dream was.
You can suppose that would be the case, because that night he went to sleep. I'm going to call in the morning and I'm going to say, no, I just can't deal with this. And yet the next morning, total change of heart, total change of mind. There's a Robert Stickhold, a famous researcher, I think once said that when you wake up in the morning, the world looks a little differently than it did the night before.
It's true. And this dream that you just gave us is also an example of a dream that changes our life. And that brings me to the book that you edited and put together 2 years ago called Dreams That Change Our Lives, put out with the group of people from the International Association for the Study of Dreams. And I was honored that you put my story of the dream that changed my life into it.
Absolutely.
Fabulous. So I'm wondering, did you have a dream that changed your life?
Yes, I did. I've had a number of them. Let's put it that way. I had one that allowed me to actually retire early and spend the last 15 years totally dedicated to dream work. And it was very much like the Rusty Car dream, but in this case, I was in an enclosed boat trying to find a solution on the windows of this boat. I was in an underground ice cave tunnel. It had to do with me not wanting to leave the organization or corporation that I was involved in out of fear, bunch of fears of losing my retirement package, et cetera. And so I was only looking for positions inside the company. But in the dream, this voice, much like the character in the Rusty Car dream, this voice says, you can walk out the door. And in the dream, I didn't know what that meant because I looked around the boat. I didn't see a door. Finally, a door appears in the boat, and the voice says, you can walk out the door. So I walked out the door of the boat, ended up on the front, and ended up in this glorious scene of music and the air and sunshine and nature, and the boat bumped up against landed on a big black rock, and it rang like a bell that just went through to my soul. It was just an amazing dream. And the next morning, I woke up in a completely different mood, saying, wait a minute, I don't need to put up with this stuff. I can walk out the door. And what happened is 10 minutes after I walked into work that morning, I got a call from a search firm that offered me a much better job. And did. And it allowed me to actually retire way early and devote all my time now to dream work and dream studies.
Such is the power of dreams.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. We're going to take a short break here. We're talking with the master of all dreams, Robert Haas, on Dream Power Radio. We'll be right back.
What could be more dreamy than a cruise to the mysterious and exotic Cuba? Join me in June for a luxurious 8-night trip on Royal Caribbean's Empress of the Seas. We'll taste the cuisine in Havana, dance to the music in the enchanting cities of Cienfuegos and Santiago de Cuba, and much more. For more information and to sign up for this unforgettable trip, email me at debbie@dreampowerradio.com.
Welcome back to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Yes, and welcome back to Dream Power Radio. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, the Dream Coach, and we're speaking with Robert Haas about dreams. Bob, a number of years ago, you had a book called Dream Language, which was very popular, and now I believe you're reissuing it. So tell us how we can access that.
Yeah, thank you, Debbie. Yeah, I had one of my first dream-related books was called Dream Language, and it went through 3 different printings and all, but it's now out of print after 2014. And there are still copies available, used copies, et cetera, on site. But what I've done, particularly after all the different other additional books we've written over the years and some of the research, the brand new research that's been done, is I decided to totally update the book. So I've completely revised it. So it is it's a second edition book. But this time I decided that I'm going to go ahead and offer it on my website, which is dreamscience.org, as a free download. So the website's being kind of revised right now, but there is a copy of it on the website now. It's called Dream Language. It's a handbook for dream workers, and it can be downloaded free. It's a PDF from that website. Again, dreamscience.org.
Oh. Tell us a little bit about dream language.
Oh, okay. What dream language is, it was based on a course I've been teaching for 40 years on the science and psychology of dreaming. And I wrote it when I was able to retire because I was then able to pull together all the old course material into this book. So it's a tutorial. It's much like the brand new one we've done, but it's it's targeted more at the public audience, and so it's a tutorial on dreaming, from everything from the neuroscience of dreaming through the dreaming experiences, as well as the total psychology of dreaming, the history of the psychology, as well as what various psychologists use or the approaches they use for dreaming. And then it ends with, the last half of the book is developing a dreamwork approach, from dealing with personal dream work, dealing with the archetypal contents of dreams, and it puts together in a total protocol that I call a transformational dream work. Transformational dream work is a little different than some types in that it combines a lot of different dreamwork approaches, particularly Jung, Gestalt work from Fritz Perls, Monty Ullman, and also neuroscience. So it combines those learnings into a protocol that contains 3 steps. The first step being the exploration of the dream. The second step being the insight, which you gain from going deeper than just using metaphors and associations and things like that. Going deeper means doing some Gestalt role play where you give the dream a voice, let the dream images speak. And also, I did about 10 years of research on color, which has been published in some journals and stuff. And I created a color questionnaire. So the color questionnaire is useful for triggering your own associations with color in dreams. So that's the insight stage. And then the final stage is the action stage, looking at how the dream was trying to solve the problem, just like in this rusty car dream. What was the dream saying? How was it trying to solve the problem, and applying that to your waking life? And there's 4 different clues in that stage for trying to understand how the dream was solved. Some people call it the message in the dream, but it's really how the dream was trying to resolve the problem. And so that's what's in the book. And there is the whole procedure, the book is in the front of the book, but also that entire procedure and the dream, the color questionnaire can be found as free downloads on my site, dreamscience.org.
Yeah, one of my first introductions to you was through that color questionnaire. Learned with that. I was studying to be a dream life coach. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of color in dreams and why it's important?
Yeah, color is it. Well, color, everything in your dream is there for a purpose. It's not there accidentally. So all the modifiers to your dream imagery, in fact, the image itself, plus its modifiers, and color is a modifier. Color is a symbol that was combined, Freud called it condensed, with your dream image for a reason. It adds, basically, as Reader's Digest did an interview on my work at one point in time. The quote they used, I think, was kind of cute. They said, "Color paints your dreams with emotion," and that's kind of what it does. There's a whole field of color psychology that back during the 40s and 50s, a great deal of work was done associating color with people's emotions. And it ended up in marketing and packaging and painting your house and all those things. So it's part of that field. But it turns out that our brain doesn't change when we go to sleep when it turns color and associated with emotion. So the colors in your dreams are also associated with the kind of same emotions that they're associated with in waking life. And because we have all that research to apply, I turn that research into a color questionnaire. I just put in the associations came from research. You look at you read through the statements, they're little emotional statements, read through them, and the ones that trigger an aha in your dream you use to explore how that color emotion fits something that is going on in your life at the time. And it's just an aid in helping you to understand how the dream relates to your life, how the underlying emotions in the dream relates to your life.
Mm-hmm. One of the other things that has been interesting to me, especially lately, is the whole idea of lucid dreaming. Something that's been very difficult for me to get into, but something I want to. Do you have any techniques on how to be a good lucid dreamer?
Yeah, there's a number of techniques for going into lucid dreaming, but let me talk to first a little bit about what lucid dreaming is. It's not as mysterious as we think. It's when you have a lucid dream, it's like you're in a magical world. So it seems really amazing to you, and you can have a degree of control over yourself and a little bit of control over the dream itself. But what is really happening is different parts of the brain that are normally asleep during the dreaming phase start to wake up. A part of the frontal brain, in particular, wakes up, and it allows you to become more aware, self-aware, and start actually doing some rational thinking in the dream itself. There's a number of other segments of the brain that wake up too, but it's just a brain state that you get into. But the nice thing is that it allows you to do some things in your dreams and some very healthy healing things that you normally would not be able to do in dreaming or even waking life. You can go through various phases of lucid dreaming. Most people they know they're dreaming, they may have a false awakening, and they stay stuck in a dream. But most people go around playing. They start flying around the dream or whatever. But if you really begin to get into lucid dreaming and do it quite often, you'll find that you can start exploring the nature of consciousness. Ask the dream characters where they came from and who they are. And you'll get some interesting questions about your own, they're aspects of your own personality, plus other states of consciousness. And what's really important is there is a wisdom behind the dream. Jung called it the collective unconscious. Some people call it the higher self or the spirit, whatever. But there's a wisdom behind the dream that you can tap into. You can turn around to your dream itself and say, dream, show me something I need to know, or what is my purpose in life? Something sort of esoteric of that nature, but very intent and very meaningful. And the dream will generally sparkle into another dream, which will give you an amazing answer. It'll be metaphoric, but it's give you an amazing answer in that aspect. So you can use the dream to do those sorts of things. For instance, that little example I gave first to the woman who turned around to the monster and says, what are you going to do to me? And she says, I don't know, lady, it's your dream. The dream was basically they went lucid, and it was basically saying, hey, this is your dream and your life. You can deal with your internal monsters however you like. So it's that sort of thing that comes out of the dream. Now, in terms, some people have even done physical healing. There's a case, and I think it might be in one of Robert Wagner's books, or where a person was able to quit smoking. Let me see. The book on this one was The Beginner's Guide to Becoming Conscious in Your Dreams, which was by Charlie Morley. And what happened was this guy in the dream was called, the guy, the dreamer himself was called Antonio. And he had this lucid dream and where he saw this woman and he said, well, so who are you? And the female dream figure said, I'm your brain. But do us all a favor and stop smoking. It bothers us. And Antonio says, okay, then, how about whenever I feel like a cigarette, you make me think of something else instead? And so upon awakening, Antonio no longer felt any interest in smoking and quit. So here you could see a mind over matter capability in lucid dreaming that is more than you can even acquire in waking life.
Yes, and it's, again, another example of a dream that changed his life.
Yes, exactly. Now, in terms of techniques, there's a lot. There's a number of them researchers use and others use. One that came out of, I can't think of the books now, but one that's popular that I think Robert Wagner uses is he practices during the day holding his hands up in front of his face, and just to get that idea in your mind or that practice in your mind. And then in dreams at night, when he sees him hold his hands up in front of his face, he says, "Oh, I must be dreaming." And so most all of the really effective ways of initiating a lucid dream are things that you practice in waking life, and that practice continues into your dreams. For instance, another one is, once or twice during the day, just look around and say, is this reality? Is this real or is this a dream? And by just saying that, it puts that idea in your mind that when you're asleep, you're going to do the same thing. The one I find most effective, and a lot of people do, and it's easiest, is just incubating a lucid dream. Tell yourself before you go to sleep at night, tonight I'm going to have a dream. I'm going to go lucid, and I'll remember it in the morning. And the thing is, you can't just say it. You have to picture yourself as actually doing it. So a number of techniques like that will help.
And again, practicing and going over and over until it finally clicks.
Right.
Helps a lot. So is there anything about dreaming that surprises you at this point?
Well, there's so many things. I think the thing that delights me the most are the couple I mentioned. Well, one is the lucid dreaming, because that is filled with surprises. I had one recently. It was extraordinarily delightful. I was getting so stressed out by issues in my life, issues dealing with other individuals in life that we had. I had a lot of things I have to manage right now in the organization, and so just having to deal with the stress of time with various individuals, and also the stress of what we're living through today with the political and environmental and financial environments, was just getting to be too much. And so I was in a dream that night where all these stresses were pictured in my life. And then I realized it was a dream. So I turned around to the wisdom in the dream and said, what do I need to do to get through these situations in my life? And all of a sudden, the dream sparkled into the most beautiful crystalline environment. I was just filled with crystal. My whole body was a light, filled with light. It was nothing but light. And I said, well, and the joy was intense. And I said to the dream, I said, well, boy, this is really nice, but still, what do I need to do in order to get through these situations? And all of a sudden, these little red hearts started appearing, and they started floating around into the shape of a big, giant heart. And there had been music in the background this whole time, but I couldn't hear what it was saying. But then suddenly the music amplified, and the tune came through, "All You Need Is Love."
Mm-hmm. What a wonderful, wonderful message to get. And actually, a wonderful way to close our show, because we're just about out of time. So very quickly, how can people get in touch with you and get access your work?
Yeah, the best thing to do is go on my website. Again, it'll be changing in the next few weeks. So we're updating it, so it's kind of messy right now. But they can go to dreamscience.org. My email is there. It's bob@dreamscience.org. Again, there's the free download of my book there, Dream Language, and free downloads of worksheets and color questionnaire, which is a lot of fun. So that's probably the best way to get hold of me.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Bob.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you. We've been talking with dream expert Robert Haas. I'm Debbie Spector-Weissman. I hope you've had a wonderful experience listening to this, and I hope you tune in next time. Until then, sweet dreams, everybody.
You've been listening to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman. For more information on Debbie or to sign up for her newsletter, go to dreampowerradio.com. This has been Dream Power Radio on the amazing Women and Men of Power Network, the world's leading positive programming network, powered by Raven International.